Good morning guys, how you guys doing? Today is JD and you guys a new video. Today I'm putting to rest the question of which one was the best subclass for the hunters during Destiny 1. I'm gonna be comparing all the subclasses from year 1 to now, and first I'm gonna give you guys the results of which one I think is the best PvE subclass and the best Crucible subclass, and then I'm gonna give you guys the final answer of which one I think was the overall best subclass for the hunters. So anyway guys, let's get into it, and first I want to start with PvE, and the first subclass I want to talk about is Golden Gun. Now, the most popular reason why you would use Gunslinger on PvE has to be the combination between Golden Gun and the exotic helmet Celestial Nighthawk. Celestial Nighthawk reduces your Golden Gun to one shot, but that one shot actually does 6 times the damage. Now, this is most commonly used on the end of bosses, especially if you're playing something like a Nightfall or Strike that has Solar Burn. That makes the Golden Gun shot even stronger. And that is why you would use Golden Gun on PvE. Basically, it's a situational thing. It's not really the most useful thing, or it's really not that helpful as far as being like support for any other players. Basically it's really to do a lot of damage in the bosses. Now next I want to talk about Blade Dancer, and Blade Dancer is almost in the same situation as Golden Gun. Basically it's a unique thing. The biggest thing and the most helpful thing about Blade Dancer on PvE, it has to be the fact that you can go invisible. Now you can go invisible in many different ways. One, you can crouch and go invis, or you can use the exotic gloves Don't Touch Me, that also helps you to go invis. But again, like Golden Gun, this is basically a situational thing. You might need this for the beginning of Crota, or you might need this in the Nightfall where you're trying to pick someone's dress and you trying to go in bed so the ass don't kill you. That is basically where Blade Dancer becomes helpful on PvE. It's not really a situation of running Blade Dancer because you want to basically support your team or help them out, or you can do a lot of damage as far as like with super. Blade Dancer honestly just comes down to being that time that you need to go in bed for a couple of seconds in order to complete that task. And that is why Blade Dancer and Golden Gun, I feel like they both have this situational stuff as far as being helpful in PvE. But next I want to talk about Night Stalker. Night Stalker is probably the best supporting class in the game. Now it doesn't have a super like Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk that can do a lot of damage to the boss, but you can tether the boss and everybody in your fire team will do extra damage, and that is probably the thing that Night Stalkers would use the most for. Also, if you don't want to use your super on the boss, you can obviously use it on ads, and you can tether the ads and make a lot of ores for your team. That is another way that you can actually support so that everybody in your team has a super. And I think that is actually a bit more helpful, the fact that you can go in biz with a grenade, because in this situation you can obviously go in biz yourself, or you can actually make your other team go in biz as well. Obviously Blade Dancer is probably a better way to go in biz, but honestly with Night Stalker you can go in biz for a couple of seconds. That might take you out from situations where ads are running you. So altogether on PvE, honestly I don't think it's even close. I think that by far Night Stalker is the best super on PvE. Both Golden Gun and Blade Dancer, I think that their situational super, like I said, in some situations that can be helpful, but Night Stalker overall for me is the best super on PvE. So let's move on to the Crucible, and let's talk about Night Stalker first. Like I said already, Night Stalker probably has the best super on PvE, but when it comes to the Crucible, Tether is probably the worst super out there. There's so many problems with this super. Honestly, I will take my chances against Tether any day over any other super in the game. The super is definitely like the worst thing in this subclass, and that is why one of the common builds for this subclass is actually a tier 1 intellect, maybe a tier 2 if you got tier 12, but a tier 5 discipline and tier 5 strength, just because, like I said again, the tether is not really what you're using Night Stalker for. The biggest things in Night Stalker and the Crucible has to be Shade Step, and it has to be the grenades. Obviously the combination between the gas grenade and the regular grenade, which some people call wombo combo, that's honestly the best thing in the Crucible that Night Stalker has. Obviously Shade Step also gives you that extra movement that is so difficult to track, and honestly is so helpful to get away from situations. So if you're using Night Stalker, it's definitely because of those two things, but obviously not having a good super is a big minus for me when it comes to selecting the best subclass for the Crucible. Now let's talk about Blade Dancer. Now, Blade Dancer has been in top of the mountain on as far as the Crucible, as far as being the best subclass in the Crucible by far. During Year 1, I would think no one would argue that Blade Dancer wasn't the best subclass for the Crucible. But since then, Bungie has nerfed Blade Dancer every chance that they got. It got to a point where the last time that they nerfed Blade Dancer, this actually became like a joke of how can you nerf like one of the worst subclasses in the game. But honestly, Bungie, I think that it was like this hate and love relationship of Blade Dancer, okay, that's the best super in the game, and now like let's throw it down to the ground. So where is Blade Dancer right now? I would say that Blade Dancer obviously has a solid grenades with skip grenades and flux grenades. Flux grenades being for me the best grenade. Obviously there's like the next thing to be in a fusion grenade. They're pretty annoying if you're playing against someone that's using them, but honestly they're really helpful if you're the one that's using them. Some people call it cheap, but again, just part of the game. The melee has been something that Bungie has never been able to fix since Year 1. Basically, backstab does more damage if you hit someone from the back, but because of some glitches, sometimes you can front stab someone and actually kill them with one hit. Again, this is like a glitch. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so I will say that you cannot really rely on this to work every single time. The super is like a coin toss. Basically, if there is 5 people in one room and you pop Blade Dancer, you can 1 kill everybody in that room and just destroy everybody in that room, or 2 you cannot get a kill and then everybody's gonna team shoot you and kill you before you can even reach someone. So that is really the scenario with Blade Dancer. Sometimes you can actually get a bunch of kills, but other times you can just get shot down by one person that has shotgun ammo. Now again, this has changed a bit as far as getting shot down as much with Blade Dancer because the special economy changes. Like there's not so many people running around with sniper ammo or shotgun ammo. Sidearms are less successful for shutting down Blade Dancer, but team firing is probably still the best counter for Blade Dancers. So I will say that Blade Dancer had a good year in Year 1, but after that, because of so many nerfs to the subclass, that makes it difficult to select Blade Dancer as the best subclass for the Crucible. So for last, let's move on to Golden Gun. Golden Gun, it has to be the best super on PvP by far. You get 3 shots that can probably get you around 3 kills, but the biggest thing is that how difficult it is to actually counter this super. Obviously with Golden Gun, you don't gotta rush into your enemies, you can actually keep your distance, but the Golden Gun itself actually has pretty good range. You can probably get kills from mid to even long distances. The best counter that I have found for Golden Gun is probably just to run away, because even if you want to pop your super, more than likely that guy with the Golden Gun is going to kill you before you can even get to them. Now you don't have a fusion grenade that is so popular in the Crucible as your option, but you got incendiary grenades. For me, actually, I love incendiary grenades. I feel that if you know how to use them and you know how to place them, they actually can do a lot of damage to any enemy, whether they're behind walls or whether they're around the area. If you actually get to tag them, they honestly kind of become one shot. Throwing knives are the same thing as incendiary grenades for me. It might take you some time to get used to using throwing knives, but if you learn how to use them, again, they can actually be really helpful in the Crucible to take down people that are one shot, or when you don't have ammo and the guy's a one shot, you can actually use your throwing knife to just get a kill. I like to use ones of VO as my exotics. Obviously the extra jump makes you move a lot faster in the Crucible, but like I said already, the best thing in this subclass, it has to be the super. It's just so difficult to counter. So for all those reasons, for me, Gunslinger has to be the best subclass for the Crucible.
underestimate
So the last thing, which one is the best subclass overall in the Crucible? I think that you have to look back into every single subclass, and when you look back, first you look at Blade Dancer. I think again, Blade Dancer was a good subclass during Year 1, but because of how many nerfs the subclass got, I think that just makes it inconsistent, and that just makes it difficult to say that Blade Dancer was the best subclass overall. Then you look at Golden Gun. Now, like I said already, for me, Golden Gun is the best subclass for the Crucible. I feel that you have the best super in that scenario. You have a good grenade, you have a good melee. So overall in the Crucible, I think that obviously Golden Gun is the best option. But then you look at a PvE, and I think in that scenario you cannot really say that Golden Gun is going to be supported for the whole team. So for those reasons, I think that Golden Gun again is solid in the Crucible, but because of how bad the subclass is on PvE, I think it makes it difficult to say that it's the best subclass overall. And then you get to Night Stalker, and obviously Night Stalker was not a part of the game from the first years, but when you look back at those years, you kind of see that honestly Hunters kind of were lost on PvE in that time. You didn't have a supporting subclass that can help out your team, and what I mean by that is, look at the Titans. They had Defender, and that was like that subclass that help out everybody. Warlocks had Self-Res that can obviously be helpful, but I think those classes had a selected subclass for PvE. But I think Hunters were stuck in this scenario where sometimes it can be helpful to have a hunter to go in biz, or sometimes Golden Gun can come in handy, but they really didn't have something that supports the whole team. But when Night Stalker became a part of the game, that is when hunters got their supportive subclass. They had a super that can help out take out bosses. They had a super that can help out to make ores for everybody. They had a super that can obviously make everybody go in biz. So hands down, that's obviously the best subclass for PvE. But when you look at the Crucible, like I said already, Tether for me is the worst super in the game. But when you hear people talk about Night Stalker in the Crucible, everybody says that if Night Stalker had a good super, that probably would be the best subclass in the Crucible. And that is because of how good Shade Step and Wombo Combo is. That's honestly two of the most solid combinations in the game. So even knowing that Tether is definitely like the worst super in the game, I think that you can look past that and say that Night Stalker is still a solid super for the Crucible as well. So because of that, Night Stalker is definitely the best subclass for the hunters during Destiny 1. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please leave a like. If you guys subscribe to the channel, that means a lot to me. I hope you guys have a great day, guys. Take care, guys. Peace.